part of my dislike for a totally made up commercial holiday in which the goal is to sell flowers and candy and jewelry. So I just thought I'd do a little video about how totally unsuccessful in relationships I have been. And for most of my life, I thought that it was just, I was somehow defective as a human being. Getting my diagnosis makes me reframe those relationships and look at that from a totally different perspective. I didn't know what to do for like accommodating myself and asking for things that I needed, setting boundaries, things like that, and looking at it through the lens of a late diagnosed neurodivergent. I realized that there were just a lot of things that I should have done differently, and it still doesn't mean that it would have been a lot easier. It would have, but it definitely would have been different. And ways in which I have failed in relationships repeatedly probably wouldn't have been that different. Communication has always been a huge obstacle for me in relationships, and I've never been good at communicating. And everybody that I've been with, as far as I know, were neurotypical. So there's one that I suspect may not have been, but still, if he showed traits of being ADHD, but I can't say for sure that he was. So I was basically having to, adapt my communication strategy to their preferred method of communication throughout all of my relationships. And that did not serve me well when it came to setting and enforcing boundaries, defending myself in arguments, and asking for my needs and communicating what they were, and even identifying my needs. You'd think that would be easy, but it's not. And now that I know that about the alexithymia, that completely makes sense, because I might not feel a certain way about something until much later. And when I would feel the feelings, I would be in a different environment or circumstance, and I might think that those feelings were attached to that situation instead of being in relation to a past situation. So it took me forever to realize that my needs are very simple. It's just, love or affection interchangeably. Love, respect, honesty, loyalty, and transparency. Those are my needs. And it seems like that would be quite simple. However, it seems to me like everyone has their own definition of those things. And they choose the definition which serves them and their situation appropriately, like whatever serves them best. So if I say to someone, you did this and it was disrespectful, they will just say, oh, that I wasn't being disrespectful, you just misunderstood me. And I'm not saying misunderstandings don't happen, but when someone is constantly telling you that you misunderstood them, you realize that there's no point trying to be understood, and so you might as well just get out of that situation altogether. And another way I went wrong in relationships was that I tolerated a lot of stuff because I'm a very patient and tolerant person, and I realized that there are no bad people, there are only bad actions. And like, a person can repeatedly do the same bad action, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad person. I understand that. So I try to play devil's advocate sometimes when I'm hurt by something someone did, and think, well, what would I do in their situation? How did they feel? What were their thoughts and feelings behind doing this? And I try to understand. And so I tolerate a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't tolerate. But my friend tells me that my affection is like a glass of water, and every time someone wrongs me, they take a drink from that glass, and it never refills. So every time someone wrongs me, that glass is getting emptier until finally one day it's completely empty and I'm completely done, and there's no refilling it. Like, they just knocked the glass off the table and it shattered. No refilling it. So people would think that I am a gullible doormat because I was being extremely patient and tolerant with them. And then one day when my patience and tolerance runs out and I'm absolutely done with them, they act totally surprised. Like, you know, even though I have called them out on their actions, you know, over the course of several years, and they didn't do anything to change those actions or modify their behavior, it would be a total surprise to them that I was absolutely done, and that I didn't have, like, it would always get to the point where I felt very cold towards them by the end, and that was my fault because I could not communicate in such a way to enforce. Like, whenever I would set a boundary, I didn't know how to enforce it. I didn't want to come across as bossy or naggy or you know, being a bee. I didn't want to come across that way, and so I wouldn't be really pushy about it. I would usually just tell somebody in a calm, almost monotone voice, you know, that, hey, you did this thing and it bothered me. Could you not do that again? Oh yeah, sure. Sorry, no problem. But it would always come up again. And I've been married twice, and I've cohabitated with two people that I was not married to in addition to that. But my second husband, when it was over, I said, he was, you know, totally surprised and was like, well, I didn't think that we had any major problems. And I was just like, well, I told you this over and over the course of 7 years. Yeah, but you never yelled about it. And I didn't. I would never yell about things. I would just address them like a calm person. But it was still the sheer quantity of times I had to address the same things and nothing was changing. And so I just couldn't communicate in a way that would make him understand cohabitate with anyone again. I need to be able to control my environment 100%. And when someone else is in that environment, it becomes very stressful for me because they're, constantly turning on lights that don't need to be turned on, or, playing a game on the tablet that has little bling noises, and that sound can be turned completely off. It's not necessary. And they might vape in the house, or just be dirty in general. And I'm not the cleanest person in the world, but whenever somebody comes in with dirt all over their boots and walks through the house, or they're doing something really messy on the couch, and it's like, what? It's like eating chips on the couch, and they're like chip crumbs everywhere. To me, that's as bad as eating cookies in bed. Or crackers, whatever, anything crumbly in the bed. I don't want it on my couch either, because I like to lay there. But, when I'm in control of my environment, then there's nobody eating chips on my couch. It's just me. So, it's, when I was in those cohabitational relationships, I had no personal space. I could be like, I need personal space, and it would be outside on the deck, sitting outside, and I can't sit out there all the time. It's the weather prevents me from being able to do that. But it just can be hard to live with someone when you need to be in control of your sensory stimuli. And also I had somehow I attract people that see me as a project, and that is the worst thing ever. Well, maybe not the worst thing ever. That's an exaggeration. There can be way worse. But it doesn't make you feel very good when someone sees you as a project and they're continuously trying to change you. And I've had people call me a diamond in the rough more times than I cared to count. And that is the most backhanded compliment, because it implies that, hey, you'd be perfect if you just changed these things about yourself into the way I think would be best for you. That is such BS. So my first husband called me a diamond in the rough, and I realized, yeah, okay, sure, I am a diamond, but you can polish me all you want, and I'm never going to be a Tiffany's engagement ring diamond. I'm a black diamond. I'm an industrial drill bit diamond. So there you go. I'm way more useful. I'm not gonna just sit around and shine and be pretty. But I can be useful. So, it's really bad when someone sees you as a project and starts trying to change you. And I'm not just talking about appearance, which he tried to do. He wanted me to become one of those high maintenance girls, which I am not. And but he also, wanted a cheerleader type, someone who's charismatic and socially adept, some sort of social butterfly. And I'm just not any of that stuff. I'll never be charismatic, or I'm not gonna win any popularity contests, that's for sure. But I have my own strengths, the right person can see, like my friends can see my strengths, and they, know that I have really good qualities. They're not like, that's nice, but you know what would be even better? And, they're like, they see that I'm artistic and creative and an outside the box thinker, and they see that as those are all good qualities to them. So it always would bug me when somebody saw me as a project and they wanted to add on different features. And so I guess moving on to the next thing, I see patterns everywhere and all the time. If I'm conscious, I'm seeing patterns. And so that can be a problem in relationships. People don't like to think that they're predictable. And when I'm around someone for a really long time, I start to see patterns in their behavior that they may not even be aware of. And so when I was in high school, I had this boyfriend, and we got into an argument over something that I knew he was going to do because he had done it before and under the same or similar circumstances. So I knew he was going to do it. And so we were having an argument, and I told him that I knew he was going to do that because he's predictable. And he got really mad at being called predictable. And then we made up, and I thought, oh great, now he's going to send me flowers because he wants to show me how unpredictable he is. And sure enough, he sent me flowers to school with a card that said something to the effect of, "Who's predictable now?" And that was a nice gesture, don't get me wrong, but I was disappointed in myself that I ruined the surprise for myself by recognizing that pattern. Like, I can't even be surprised. I mean, I can be surprised, but it's usually not good ones. But in arguments with the people that I've cohabitated with, I would not tell them they were predictable exactly, but I would notice patterns starting to happen that indicated that something that was going to hurt me was about to happen or bother me, or whatever. So when I noticed the patterns leading up to that thing starting to happen, I would kind of try to nip it in the bud, I guess, and just try to stop it, try to prevent it. And they would be like, "Well, I wasn't going to do that. You don't know that." And I would be like, yeah, you did all these things before, and then did that thing." And then they would get mad that I was seeing patterns, and especially if I saw a pattern throughout all of my relationships that was repeating, and tried to tell someone, like, "You're doing the exact same thing that this person did before they hurt me, so I'm trying to prevent that." And that would turn into, "You're comparing me to other people, blah, blah, blah." No, I'm not. I'm comparing patterns to patterns. But that's not what people want to hear. And so my pattern recognition, even though I see it as a safety mechanism, other people don't like it. They would much prefer that I not see those patterns, and sometimes it really bothers them. Like, they think that I'm paying too much attention to them and watching them too closely. I don't even have to be watching them at all. I just notice patterns when I'm conscious, like I said. And I notice small things and like little things being out of place. So it's not that I'm going around looking for things to find wrong or looking for something to nitpick. I just happen to take in a whole lot of information, and that makes so much sense with this diagnosis. I am really literally taking in more information, and a neurotypical person doesn't see that. And so in the past relationships, I didn't have that explanation for them. I would just be like, I don't know, I just notice things. And they would think is like, that's not normal, she's acting like a psycho, that when that word has been used, and that is also pretty unkind. but at least now I can use the old Big Bang Theory quote, I'm not crazy, my mother had me tested. Even though my mother had nothing to do with it. But it's just that I take in so much information that it becomes really difficult to ignore said information, especially when there's a pattern. But I also, have trust issues, and that can be a really bad thing because I take the word truth and trust very literally. So when someone says, do you trust me? I'm like, well, no, because everybody lies. I do it every time somebody asks me if I'm okay. Yes, I'm fine. Insert automatic answer. But I see people, especially neurotypical people, going about their everyday lives lying, just constantly lying, like things like that. Yeah, I'm fine. Things that are just little white lies that people don't even consider lies, but because I have a very literal definition of the truth, they are. So should I trust somebody whose communication style is centered around lies, which I include tact and sugarcoating as in the lie category as well? Should I trust them 100%? Absolutely not. I'm not that daft. So, yeah, I have problems with trust. And, part of that is my life experience, and bad things have happened that caused me not to be very trusting. But I also think that my literal definition prevents me from being able to fully trust someone when I know that lies are just a part of neurotypical communication. And I wish they weren't. I wish people would be 100% direct with me when we're, like, I understand that, there are situations where lying might be good. In situations where someone's life is at stake, that is, that could possibly be a reason to lie. But it could also be a good reason to tell the truth. Anyway, if someone is lying to me just to protect my feelings, I hate that. I just want them to be direct. I really just want that more than anything. Is for someone to just be direct with me and not sugarcoat things and not tiptoe around my feelings. Just, not treat me like I'm fragile. And I can handle it. I have handled some shit in my life. And, the thoughts and feelings of another human being are something I'm quite capable of handling. I might have an emotional response to it at first, yes, but that's natural. That doesn't everyone. But anyway, that's another thing. reason why I'm not great at relationships. I kind of expect someone to be direct with me, and I get really frustrated and angry when they're not. So I just have to kind of deal with things as they come up. And I'm in a relationship now where we do not cohabitate, and he's aware that I never want to cohabitate, and he's fine with that as far as I know. But I'm getting better at communicating my boundaries and needs and all of that. And so it's still a relatively new relationship I kind of what people call a serial monogamist, so they're all long term. But anyway, we'll see how that one goes. But I just wanted to do this little Valentine's Day thing about how horrible I am at relationships and why.